Okay, today's video we're talking about how to come up with new product ideas using just Google Ads by itself. Come up with 7, 8, 9-figure product ideas. I'll give you examples on this video of other people that are doing it, have done it today, basically what they did to be able to come up with their ideas. And then also I'll give you the kind of the turnkey formula of different clients that I've seen either do it or people they worked with have done it. The stories that they told me to do the same thing just with a little bit of Google ad money. We're not talking about needing $1 million worth of Google ad money here. We're talking about $1,000 worth of Google ad money you can find a product idea if you follow this strategy I'm going to give you on the video. So anyway, with all that said, I'll give you the process. I'll go through a quick overview here, then I'll get into the strategy itself. And after explaining a little bit of a background, who else is doing this. So do you know that 4-Hour Work Week, you know, the book by Tim Ferriss about how to basically only have to work 4 hours a week, despite him working more than 4 hours a week. And Kettle and Fire, which is a organic bone broth company, both got their 8 and 9-figure business ideas initially with using Google Ads. So you can go ahead and check these companies and these founders' backstories, how they came up with the ideas, and then use Google Ads to verify those ideas and then go on to build the 8 to 9-figure companies there for each of their own respective businesses. So but here's the big thing that people don't recognize and really separates the winners and losers when it comes to, are you going to come up with something that will work, it's innovative, and will make a business that basically explodes in profitability for you, and the people who on the other side are basically closed-minded and never actually make much money. Yes, you can easily, through trial and error, find multi-million-dollar product ideas through a repeatable process. There's a way to do it. The secret is to find these ideas that are these product ideas that you're going to find that are going to be a multi-million-dollar idea, 7, 8, 9-figure company ultimately, is that you're going to, through a process of trial and error, figure it out. In other words, if you're not, so what you do ultimately, there's 2 ways of doing business and coming up with a new product idea if you're going to sell a product. Services, it's technically the same thing, guys. Same concepts can be applied to you. You can be a product engineer, and you can know through being engineering how to make a product physically better, in which you can do some research on the market, know that people, they buy it to go, you know, to make their car faster, whatever is out there. You know how to invent a way to make it go even faster using the same product. You sit down, you do it, because it's obvious people will always want even more results, even more speed with the enhancement they did to their car or whatever, a particular car part or product there. If you get that accomplished, you'll make money. That's one way to come up with the product idea. The other way is just by being able to find out literally what does not work through the process of elimination and trial and error process. So in other words, backing up here, going through what I just said over here, the secret in finding out what the multi-million-dollar product idea is going to be for you, if you're not, you know, an inventor, is to use, one way to do it, like one great, probably the best way I can think of to do it, is using Google Ads to find out what people want today in real time versus what people don't want in real time. And the secret being that most of the things that you try as somebody, an entrepreneur, which is this is the true definition of an entrepreneur that goes out there and tries to solve problems by inventing new products and services, most of the stuff you try isn't going to work. Most people who have jobs, we'll just say, work for a living, they never become entrepreneurs because they think, oh, the statistic is 80% of people who basically get into business fail, which is true in the first 5 years anyway, and it's 90% in the first 10 years. But it doesn't. What they don't look at is that's a part of the process. Nobody tells you in school or whatever that you'll make more money in business if you can learn how to do this to yourself after you learn more than the boss, or however that saying goes. And but it's a lot of times, more than often, anybody who's successful already will tell you they didn't figure it out on the first try. You have to go through a period of trying a bunch of different stuff out. You learn along the way, and then you find the multi-million-dollar idea. As you're coming up, and as this applies to product ideas, it's the same thing. Even if you're somewhat experienced in business, you're trying to find a unique product that'll be a big hit and explode in sales. You're going to have to try 10 different products out, running a few ads with each one. 9 of them will be crap. 1 will hit. And then with that, now you got your 7-figure product idea. You got it. And then every time you come up with a new product idea, it will be roughly the same thing. I mean, as you get into a certain vertical, you learn kind of more so what will be a hit right away. But respectively, that's what is the usual thing of what these guys that you see are super successful have done. They didn't just get lucky. People think they got lucky. What they did was they studied their market and they went out there and they tried a bunch of stuff. And then they found something that can generate enough sales that they know is going to be profitable with paid ads. Once you do that, it's game over. You know you're going to make millions of dollars. All you got to do is run the ads for the product and keep fulfilling the orders. And that's it, right? Everybody's looking for that. So what I've brought to you here on today's video is a process, a repeatable process that you can go ahead and through the ads quickly and as cheaply and as easily as possible, go through the iterations and testing that you need to do to find a product that will actually be profitable after your ad spend, after the product cost, after all that, without going through too many iterations. So you could find that multi-million-dollar product idea through the power of what Google Ads can do for you, which is give you real-time data about what people want versus what they don't want, so you can find the few things that people want in the haystack of all the things that people search for, and the diamond in the rough that other people aren't going to be searching for, because there's very few people out there that will actually go ahead and look for what these product ideas that are out there. They're just sitting out there all the time, that people don't scavenge for these things. Respectively, there are thousands of product ideas out there, just nobody has found them yet. And so all you got to do is use this process. You will find an idea. There's no shortage of ideas. It's just, are you willing to fail a bunch of times to find the product that will work, one of the thousands that are out there? It's really that simple. So this is actually similar to, if you read the book Lean Startup or heard of it, where they talk about when you build a company, basically, don't overinvest before you need to. Lean Startup's more about if you're an actual product engineer, and that's how you're coming about, of the 2 main ways of developing a new product to come to market with, that you do what they call MVP, minimum viable product, to come to market, product that's basically shit, that solves a problem that needs to be solved out in your market, and people want it bad enough, they'll use your shit product, and then they'll complain about it, and you take the complaints and weigh the complaints, basically, and then figure out which ones most people are complaining about at the time, and then fix that one first, and then keep doing that. Again, that's, if you're an engineer, that's, I would say, the way to go. It's easier, sure route, we'll just say. If you don't have those smarts, you can easily get to the end result just through the trial and error process. So, respectively, if we're not an engineer, we got to get, like I said, we're going to earn our keep by figuring, we're going to be able to go and willing to try more stuff, fail more times to find out what will work. And then our value add to our market will be knowing what people want, and then go to the people who can actually make products and get them to make it, but only go to them and make it when you already got validated what the market will buy and spend literally millions of dollars on. My favorite 2 go-tos, and that I've seen people do personally, if they're trying to create a new product, they're going to create something that has better results, goes faster, flies farther, lasts longer, takes less longer on a battery charge, quieter, louder, whatever. Because that's pretty straightforward. In every market, if you go ahead and look, it'll be easy to find out what people want more of in one category or another. So then what you can do is just figure out how to phrase basically what would be the best way of saying that. When people say they want that thing, where people make a mistake is, that they say they would like something that's organic, but you go ahead and you make a organic hemp seed product and you go to market with it and it doesn't sell. Going back to the lean startup thing, in the flip side where you're going to go ahead and try to find, through process of elimination and hard work on that end to find a product idea, you're going to figure out if people will buy organic hemp seed before you ever sell it. And then with that once you see that they'll buy it, then that's the time we figure out if we can actually make organic hemp seed. I mean, technically you can go and see if it's physically possible, but we're not going to go any farther than that. So that would be one example of a product idea that somebody who's non-technical could research and find out through running some ads if that's in demand the way that people say that it might be in demand, and then go find a way to produce it. And then once they know if they go through the trouble, it can actually go through the second part and find a way to actually deliver that somehow. Somebody can do it. They've already got a working plug-and-play 7-figure profit machine to plug it into before they go do all that research on product development, product developers, whatever. The other way is, this one's more so my favorite way, is have a different look of the product. Where is there a different color, different shape, different texture? Do we put a different picture on the product? A logo? What's the way that we could change a standard product to make it look cooler? Same product, and that people that you know when they see it, they'll buy it. And so that one's a little tougher because they don't really often tell you what they would like to see different. But through the same concept, you could go through a bunch of iterations of what a product could look like. The same bowling ball, but make it in 150 colors, and then go and try to sell it in 150 colors, and you find 3, for some reason, with bowlers as a whole, as an individual group or market, they like these 3 colors like so much to where you can get an 8-to-1 return on a PPC ad campaign when it's shown to them physically. Then you go make the bowling balls in those 3 colors. That's what I'm getting to here, is the way to find the product ideas, so-called get rich quick, or as quick as you can. That's legal and ethical and easy, we'll just say proven to do. As long as you go through enough iterations, you'll find something. It might take you 20 or 30 iterations of testing products, but you'll find one. There's thousands of ideas out there. And there's no reason to not be able to find it, because Google Ads provides you real-time access. When everybody who's looking for something is going to Google and they're looking for it in real time, and you can put something in front of them in real time and find if they like it or don't like it just by paying like $100 or a couple $100. You'll know if what they're willing to pay, are they willing to pay enough to basically cover the cost of your ad spend. And if you can run that ad campaign consistently forever after, once you've got the product. So anyway, maybe sounding a little bit more like obvious at this point, the way that I'm describing it, but I'll give you a little bit more detail here that will give you a little bit more guidance on how to do this for yourself. So here's my method. So you're first going to find a high volume niche. Like I mentioned, like bowling balls is one idea. It could be the organic hemp seed. I talked about that. Well, organic hemp seed is not a good example because there's not a lot of search volume out there. So if we're going to try to use a Google ad campaign to figure out a variation of what already sells, and if we find something that we'll be able to sell a lot of it, so we'll be able to actually do 7 figures worth of business, that's not a good idea. But the bowling market, there's a lot of people buying bowling balls. So if I could find a color of bowling ball that people just gravitate to, and I have to spend a few $100s just to see if a certain color will work or whatever, or like $100 for every color that I'm testing, at the end of the day, I want to be able to get a 7-figure business out of this. So I got to pick a niche, if you will. I pick a niche for this. Or if you're going to do this, you pick a niche that has a lot of volume already, and that you're just trying to figure out what you can do to tweak what's already out there in a high volume niche already. So start with a niche big enough that if you find the idea, you're going to have a 7-figure business idea on the other side, a product idea on the other side. That's the first thing I'd say. That, and there's enough people searching for it at any given time that if you're going to run a test, and no longer than 30 days, you'll find out whatever iteration or example or prototype that you created is going to sell, and basically have enough data to know if you ran it over a year, for sure, pretty much, you'll know what you'll make over that year as soon as you go at it for real that time, if you will. Second thing would be, you go out there and you poll consumer forums, places where reviews exist like Amazon, and use Google and YouTube instant search for ideas. So in the bowling ball space, I'm going to go and spend days, or well, it could be even a few hours realistically, and look at all the bowling forums where all these crazy fanatic bowlers are talking, and just see what they're talking about. You'll talk about a lot of things, but you'll find some gems in there where they say, I just got this new ball, it's awesome, but I wish it had this. And then they'll say, you know, hopefully, do you know anybody who is there other balls like this that does this? And then other people will say, yeah, there's this, or no, there's not this. And then you'll find an idea just in those conversations. Those forums are my favorite for this kind of thing. I use forums particularly myself running a PPC firm because we have to think about writing copy for ads and landing pages. And when you go in there and you find out how people really tick, you can write amazing copy. Takes a while to do some research there. Reviews, so based upon what people are complaining about, not so much what they find is positive, which the positive thing isn't going to help you in this case because they're telling you about stuff they already can get. But what they're complaining about, they wish the product did, that's where your product ideas potentially could stem from. I wish it was more powerful. Well, why don't we just create an item that looks exactly the same and is a little bit more powerful? We don't have the product right away, but we could say we have it and say it's twice as powerful, see if people will buy it, and then if they'll buy it at a rate which we can still get an $8 return for every dollar of ad spend we spend, which will cover the product price and the delivery price and the shipping price, that we have a $1 million product idea, that's what we'll do. The other thing is Google instant search. So in the bowling space, I'm going to just type in bowling, and then as you know in Google search, if you type in one word, particularly in a high volume niche like this, which start with a high volume niche anyway, it'll say bowling tips, you know, how to throw a strike or whatever. All these things that people are searching about, long questions. It's better than the Google keyword tool because it's going to tell you more so what's the hot trending thing. And you can find out within that, is there something they're looking for that they can't find? And then that's where your product idea can come from as well. YouTube has the same thing. And so I'd look in Google and YouTube. But you can find ideas, okay? Even if you had none of this, I would recommend using this anyway. So you could find a way to just offer the same thing, claim that it's doing what they want it to do, test and see if I can get an 8-to-1 return on my ads, which I'm not, technically this is against Google Ads rules, okay? So I'm not advising you to do this. I've seen other people do this, where they'll just set up a website offering that product that actually is twice as powerful that people were complaining about and didn't get with the last one. And then they'll see if people order it. And then with the tracking and Google Analytics tracking and revenue tracking through Google Analytics, they can see how much revenue was generated per dollar of ad spend. And we were advertising it under, if they were hoping they could find a bowling ball that was lighter but had more pin explosion power when the ball hits the pins, when people are typing in bowling ball in a Google search, or bowling balls for sale, let's say, that our ad says, or I would go with search ad in this case, bowling balls light with top pin explosion power or whatever. And we'll just see if that attracts a higher click-through rate than, in general, maybe from your past tests or just in general as compared to a few other tests that you can run. But really, maybe you get lucky on the first time. You click through and you say that same thing on the main, the copy on the page you take them to. The ball says, and the ball description says the exact same thing. Very light, very high explosion power, something that's not existing in the market already. And then you just see if you can generate a profit from that. You're saying, though, Corey, ultimately, I don't have the product. How can you do that? Well, other people, you're not supposed to do it. It's against Google's terms. But first of all, if you show that you can get an 8-to-1 return or greater, that's generally what you need in any kind of e-commerce space to make money. You should be jumping for joy because you'll test it for 30 days. You got 15 sales already. You can assume that first month, if you got 15 sales, once you've ran that campaign for 6 months and really broke it in, you'll really get 150 to 300 sales because that's how Google Ads works. And I've mentioned this on this channel many times. Google Ads, it builds the longer you run it, particularly up front. That you have 150 sales a month, which means you'll be able to sell 1,500 a year. And whatever you make, you can make so much on each ball. Now I got a 7-figure business idea right here. You'll jump up and down for no other reason than that. Even if you had to give everybody at a loss a ball, but most people that are doing this, they'll just refund and they'll say, sorry, we're out of stock. When they're in stock, we'll contact you. And then, so basically they can find out if people are willing to pay for it without having the product up front. Big mistake people make when they try to come up with products is they ask people, would you buy this? It's not going to work like you think it does. It's a major, major misnomer. The only way you could tell something's going to be profitable is if they're willing to buy it literally, open up their wallet or pocketbook and buy it, which is why Google Ads is the way to go. You run it for people already looking for that product, label it what is better about it right up front, right in the ad. So if that thing matters, it's in the ad, they for sure see it, and it's mainly focused on that landing page. That basically you'll find out and you'll have an idea. And before you have to go and do any other work to find out how to actually make a ball that has double the explosion power, and you hire an inventor and you commission them and say, if you could come up with an idea, somebody who has experience making new bowling balls that works at a company and you moonlight and you say, I'll give you $100,000 if you can figure this out. That's the type. Now you've got a clear roadmap to get from where you're at then, knowing that it's marketable, it's profitable after ad spend. You just got to find the guy that put the formula together, and you got your 7-figure idea. It came to life. So with that, if you didn't have this, going back to what I was saying before, if you didn't have all this research, all this free data out there that tells you what people want in a product in terms of making it better, you can make it look different. I've seen somebody take spark plugs before, because I used to, way back before I even was in the agency world, I sold performance auto parts. Somebody that I knew took spark plugs and they changed the color to where most of the spark plugs are white. There's a ceramic part at the top of every spark plug. They made the ceramic red, and then they just said they were super powerful, more powerful spark plug. But because they look physically so different and attractive, like eye candy, they sold at a profit after expenses. So that's not that monumental of an idea. Anybody can figure out how to make the product look a little bit different and test a few different versions of the colors, textures, like I said, maybe a little bit different shape. That's a little harder to do. But getting into the next step here, anymore, what can be done with Photoshop anymore? You don't need to have a prototype made to be able to do what I'm explaining you can do here. You just have to go to somebody who's not an amateur is going to be able to do this. Somebody who's really, really good at Photoshop, generally speaking. If you're going to make something that has a different shape, they can make rendering so good the product looks real. Okay? Real enough to pass enough times to know if your campaign will work or not. So you have a designer create a prototype in Photoshop. So if you're going to change the shape, you explain what you need done. Hire a good designer that can do this, that really, really knows how to do this the right way, so that you don't have it. The worst thing that would happen is you run this test and you have faulty data because the product looks fake. Hire the designer that's $150 an hour that has experience making product renderings on Upwork. You can find them, and show it to a few people after you made it and make sure that they can't tell it's fake. Then you know you're good. Then you can run your tests. If you didn't, for some reason, couldn't do that or didn't have the money or whatever, you would be surprised what you could find on it's a site called Creative Market, and there's other sites like that have already products that you can slap new colors on, a new logo, new text, new design on top of. So if you're physically going to make something look the same and the shape is the same, you can just buy the file and then just change the color and then put the item in a different color up, and basically it looks like a real item. Then you sell it, figure out if that color will work, like the spark plug example I gave you, and then see if it will fly or not. And if that doesn't work, like I said, don't be discouraged. Try 15 different colors. Find the one that will work. And you'll be surprised how much a difference there is if you have an idea for a different color, how using a red versus a blue will work. So you try everything. You only got to spend $100 on a test, really, and sometimes you have to spend more because it's like $1 a click. You get 100 clicks for that. You should be able to get 2 or 3 sales. If you don't get any sales, you know it didn't work. Basically as simple as that. You respectively, just try to remember my other point here. As far as the visual look, another example to explain how this is done, I knew somebody who put different logos on different products, like sports logos. So they took, I can't give you the exact item because I'd be giving away that guy's entire business idea, a thing like a bowling ball, an everyday high volume product, okay? They put I'm from Iowa Hawkeye logo on there, and then, and this is where you use the shopping campaign. Any visual product, instead of having a text ad that says it's faster, it's better, as for, the capability of the product being better, which you use a search ad for, because in text, you can describe better what that product does and test that, whether that language gets people to respond or not. If you have something that visually looks different, you can use a shopping campaign, because on Google, you always have your text ads, right? And then sometimes you'll have the 8 picture ads it's a picture of the product and the price underneath it. That's called the shopping ads. Sometimes it's over here on the side. You can have a picture of that product there, and so if they're looking for a bowling ball and they see a bowling ball over there with the Hawkeyes logo on it, it's either going to catch their eye or it's not. Okay, I found you need a little bit more data than 100 clicks to do in terms of visual. You want to go more like 1,000 clicks if you can, or at least 500. And if it's visually, if it's going to click with your market, they'll see it. And the great thing about the shopping ads is they don't have to know that they're looking for it. They may not, they like red, but they don't know it until they see it. Okay, so you just try something out, and then you see if people are going to respond to it or not. So they put the sports logo on it, and it worked. Guess what? You find one sports logo that works, you can do all the sports logos, and now you've got an entire 8-figure business idea. And that same idea, by the way, could be used for a lot of different markets. And I know you're saying, hey, Corey, you can't put a sports logo on a product. You have to pay royalties to the NCAA and whatever. That's true, but in this particular guy's case, it was so profitable he could pay the fees, and it's not as high as actually that you think. So if you wanted to try that one, you definitely could. Go run the test, see for yourself it'll work for a particular class of products. Like I was saying, go find out what it's going to cost to get your that logo on your product, and then compare it to the profit you're going to make from the sales. If you did 1,000 clicks and you end up finding you got a 2% conversion rate, and you sold X number per in that 1,000 clicks, and those 1,000 clicks came in over 8 days, you can then basically tabulate what you're going to make per year, because you take whatever you made basically times 20 again, because as I mentioned before, whatever you have initially starting out, it's not going to work near what it would be 6 to 12 months into the process, particularly 6 months. And then, but you could calculate out what you're going to make for your profit per year. And then you just have to plug in the cost of the accreditation, or what do they call that? Licensing fees, there we go, that it's going to cost you, and either it makes money or it doesn't. So whereas everybody else would poo-poo the idea because they're not going to pay for the licensing fees, you're going to go at it with a pragmatic approach and just see how much money you would make if you actually put the sports team logo on it. Maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a little. If it's a ton, you can go see. If it's too expensive, well, you're out, but you can try again. You can try another product. You can try a different logo. In this particular case, it was just another good tweak to this whole plan. And this is a PPC strategy channel, so I'll talk about it. But the Hawkeye logo for the shopping ads have a shopping campaign just for Iowa, because it's the Iowa Hawkeyes. So naturally, if you wanted a bowling ball to show up there, you wanted a bowling ball with a logo that matches what state the user's in, because that has obviously the most statistical likelihood of getting the person to respond and ultimately have your little case study work out. Which, that sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but making 8 figures a year or whatever, 7 figures a year, isn't simple either. It takes a little bit of work. But respectively, it's almost nothing to have a campaign for each state. So you can have, if you test out having an Iowa Hawkeyes logo show for Iowa people, you can have somebody create 49 other shopping campaigns so you can multiply what you earned from Iowa alone. So that's, in terms of visual, taking a product, making it visually different, that's how you can do it. If it works differently, you can try a text ad and see if that will work. If you want to make it visually different, you can use a Google ad. Okay, so I gave you pretty much the strategy here in a nutshell. Now, I talked about creating a brand new Google account to do this for yourself, to figure out, be the scientist, if you will. You are actually a scientist if you're doing testing like this to find a winning product. If you wanted nothing to actually do with PPC, or wanted to make money quicker, or for some reason, if you went ahead and went to the manufacturer and needed to pay off on the $100K investment that it's going to take to make the molds and make the products and order the initial minimum amount they usually ask, you could partner up, which I've seen done as well, with somebody else who has a Google Ads campaign that's already spending tens of thousands a month, and just go to them and say, I have a winning product idea. I know this works. I want to use your Google Ads campaign. I'll give you X percentage of the gross. Let them run it through their campaign, their account, which has a lot more history. And instead of taking 6 months to a year to build up your account, pretty much, if you, like for instance, if you have a shopping campaign, and that shopping campaign basically is full capacity on all the other items that are in that feed, any new item will get respect and get pushed to the max level immediately, because the algorithm assumes that any new item in an account where the other items were traditionally always good that were brought in, that this would work, and you just convince that person that this is a winning product because I've tested it, however way you need to do it, without giving away too much information where they'll just do it themselves. But most of the time, these e-commerce retailers, they're not looking to make a product. That's going to be your value add. You got the product ready to go. I just want to use your shopping feed. You upload it, and then the sales are just going to go, ramp up immediately on that item as soon as it's put in the feed. I've seen this. So that would be another option for you, other than to run your own account, if you're a little bit need money faster, or a little bit weaker in terms of what you think that you know about Google Ads. This is a whole side to this thing. So just a quick side thing here. Oh, I guess I'll go here as well. As far as the better results, a little thing I know that anybody is going to be able to do here is warranties. If one thing that people always want is something that works better. Any of our clients, by the way, that sell anything made in the USA that we have are doing extremely well, whereas the people not doing that are struggling. Part of that is because most people aren't selling USA products, therefore they're way more competition, but also people they're tired of crappy Chinese quality products. So if you can make something with the USA in a lot of markets and that's your only thing, that right there is your edge in and of itself. So if I'm making a product, the first thing this is a massive tip for you, see if anybody else has made a USA version and see if you can do it. Don't just slap a USA logo on a Chinese crap product. Actually figure out how to have it made here. You'll be surprised that there's factories in the USA still, believe it or not. There's probably somebody who makes at least one that makes what you do or has the capability of making what you do, and that could be your edge. But one of your edge, along with the USA thing, you can do USA, and then with the USA, we've had a lot of success. In that case where this person had a USA product where all the other competitions wasn't a USA product, but also offering a warranty, like a 30-year warranty, like an insane warranty. And even if you had 10-year warranty, I've seen where that skyrocket sales compared to no warranty being offered at all. And that can be your one thing that so-called makes it better, that you take your ad, bowling ball, 10-year warranty versus nobody else has a warranty. You can see how that one individual aspect impacts people's perception of what they're going to click on and what they'll buy when presented multiple choices there on Google. I would give warranty as a simple way to make the product better, and that takes no research. Try it. If you say USA, does that work? If you say warranty, does that work? If you say USA and warranty, does that work? Do I have to do 20-year warranty? Do I have to do 30-year warranty? That's something that takes no research. And you can do on a text ad and see if that get people to respond or not. But one other thing I wanted to mention on this video was Shark Tank. Everybody, I'm sure you've seen that. Everybody's probably seen that by now. Mr. Wonderful, the guy on there, Mr. Wonderful, if you listen to his story about the software company that he had that really made him rich, which was his thing, they basically did the same thing with their software company as I'm explaining here. Specifically, all they would do is for instance, back in the 90s when PC software was a big thing still, it was sold in big boxes. If you're 30 plus, you remember that. But they would have like a typing software. Everybody else has a typing software out there. All they would do is they'd make a Mickey Mouse typing software. And then they would try it. And maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. If it didn't work, well, fine. But the money that they lost trying a new product out when they already had a network out there of different stores that they had a shelf where, like a place where all their products were there anyway, they would just have a product there for a while. If it worked, it worked. If not, another product came in. You lose very little money as a whole respectively if it didn't work. But if it did win, now they had $1 million+ worth of sales. Which the holy grail in business, all the people that are in business that are very successful, all money comes from risk. You're trying to evaluate the risk and what is the upside versus the downside. You're trying to get at least a 10x upside from whatever you're doing, because as a whole, up to basically every 10 things you really try are not going to work. If you're halfway smart, you can get 1 in 5 things to work. But if you make a 10x return for sure, make sure that 10x return minimum is there of anything you try. Losing losing 80% of the time is just fine. This is typically how the big guys evaluate all their decisions, really. So that's what they did. And when they didn't just find like what I was explaining about the bowling balls and the college team logos and putting that on the product and see if that worked. You find the Mickey Mouse software that worked, and then they would just do, you know, whatever, Pinocchio, Lion King, and that was really what it is. But you get my point. They would try other co-branded items. And when I say co-branded, that's not the right word. They went to, just like I said, they went to the rights holder for Mickey Mouse, whoever owns the intellectual, the copyrights, all that, and they just asked, because they have a process ready to go. That's how they make money, these copyright holders. They lease out the rights to use what they're doing. That's why you see Mickey Mouse stuff everywhere, even though that Mickey Mouse has now been a cartoon for 50 years. And there's a price, and there's different levels of prices for different levels of use and for different things. And they obviously had paid the royalty, or which I really think is the word royalty. I think that's it, before they put it into the store, right? And I don't recommend you put a logo out there that you have the rights to use, but just to see if it works. Personally, if you know, people do that, but you know, respectively, you need to be agnostic to things that you're not the consumer, the wildest stuff that you don't think works. The best product ideas out there, the people that they talk to, they all said it was a terrible idea. This is very common, and I'm not joking about this. You can look around. The person who is willing to try more stuff and not be closed-minded, try not to think that they know everything and try a bunch of stuff, they're the people who end up with the success, and the people that underestimate themselves are the ones that don't. And the people, like I said, that figure out how to come out with where there's a 10 times return potential out of what they're doing, and they know if they go into that with every decision they make, you can't lose. So go in with an open mind. Try to do as much research as you can, but don't use that to be your end all to figure out what products you want to test. Go out and try a bunch of stuff. Once you find one product, you're done. You're going to make your millions off of it. So whatever you lose up front is, irrelevant. That's how you come up with a product idea. That's how other people are coming out with product ideas, and how other people I know have done this myself on a smaller scale than, what these bigger guys, Kettle and Fire and Mr. Wonderful, and well, actually more specifically Kettle and Fire, a 4-hour work week, which actually ran the ads just to see if the idea worked. This is how they did it. This is how they do it. Are you willing to go ahead and lose a few times to find out the one that wins? And if you are, you can be one of these guys. So anyway, that's the system as a whole, figuring out a product using Google Ads that I know about and that I've seen used and works. The most efficient way that I know how. It should work for you. Basically, there was no reason not to. If you enjoyed this video, I have a lot of other videos about other PPC money-making strategies on this channel. If you want to make a ton of money with PPC, you should definitely check them out. I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that I build them for our clients here, in which we guarantee the results. So if you want to find information along, brought out to you along those kind of lines, you can find it there. If you have any questions about using PPC, Google Ads, whatever, to find a new product idea, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a day or two time. And with all that said, hope you enjoyed. I hope to see you on my next video that comes out in another day or two with another great PPC strategy on it. Take care.